I'd say when I got to Boston, when I knew I was safe.
Was it like hard, like fitting in and stuff?
It was hard because uh, when I knew I was safe is when my aunt, by photo, uh, came up to me. My friend said, "Don't not move, don't go anywhere, don't go with anybody. Of course, in case anything would happen, you'd be kidnapped or whatever." I didn't understand that at the time. And then she came up to me, and then I went with her, and she was asking me all questions about my mother, her sister, because she wasn't back for years, and she hadn't seen Ireland. She only was only back once in a lifetime. So she missed her mother and her father and her sister and brothers, the same thing as we miss in ours, repeat of history. And she was just so nice, showing me everything. And first thing was she had dinner for me and a nice room, nice everything. But I was not happy myself because I missed the ones at home.
Did you keep in touch with your family at home?
Yes, the only way we could keep in touch then, because they had no phones, was writing letters after letters. But it took 6 weeks for a letter to get there because there wasn't a plane going into Ireland then, 60 years ago. That all came later years. So uh, it was always by boat, and the boats only went so many times a month, not every day, not every week. And then by the time they'd get to Cork, where the boats would land in Ireland, and then by the time the mail would get to the mail office, and then somebody on a bicycle, and a lot of people had to walk, the mailman, and deliver the mail. It was about 6 weeks before they'd get the letter.
What was your first job like? Oh, sorry.
My aunt's first thing she did that night, and her husband, was show me the American money, because it was pounds, shillings, and pence in Ireland, and they showed me, and I couldn't understand why a nickel was smaller than a dime, and they were laughing at me. And then the next day she took me to look for jobs, and I got a job through friends of hers at a factory. So I was making suitcases, standing from 8 to 5 on your feet, and a half-hour break, and 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes later afternoon, and putting all different colours on suitcases and hinges on the suitcases and clips, but you had to be standing with the machine, pouncing down the steel machine, pulling it like that down on it to put those rivets in the covers. So it was to me standing for that at the time compared to working on a farm, and you're bent down mostly on a farm. You're digging or you're on the ground, taking weeds out. So, but just to have to stand there that many hours, oh my God, so long, that was hard to me. So, again, the people were really nice. They were helping me out. They were also saying, "Come and have lunch with me." I used to bring my lunch from my aunt's house in a brown bag, so they did that every day. And then I didn't understand it at the time, but my aunt was telling me, you pay for the bus. Well, I never saw a bus until I came here. So when I get on the bus, I instead of putting a quarter in, which it was supposed to be, I would give the dollar to the man to change it. He'd give me the 4 quarters. So I just walk onto the bus and I'd put the quarter into the meter that was right beside him, the guy that drove the bus. So my aunt said it to me then when I came home. She said, "How much do you have?" I showed her, and she says, "Oh my gosh, you're supposed to put the quarter in." So I the next day then, because it was the same bus driver over and over on that route at that time of the evening, and then I gave him the quarter, and he got a kick out of it. He thought it was funny. So he didn't say anything. He could have said, "Come back," but he knew by looking at me I was lost, and he knew. I knew by looking at him with the red face, the colouring, they just knew. That was his route. He didn't know anybody that would get on that was new, like, you know. So my aunt, of course, talked to him. I didn't know that at the time, to make sure I got off at the right stop and that. So gradually you do get it, but it takes a while.
You said before about like helping your brothers and sisters over.
Oh yes. Then, well, I did the same as my aunt did for me. I had to have $1,000 saved. Had to put up papers to show what I had, and then the same information, address and where you come from, county and all that, the names of who you're trying to bring out, their age. But I would be held responsible for 5 years for them, like my aunt was responsible for me. And then I got the papers. I became an American citizen after 5 years. You couldn't do it before that. I had to read a book and answer a lot of questions all about America. And then I went up and take an oath to give up your Irish citizenship and become an American citizen. And you had to have one person, like a woman and a man, that brought me out and was responsible for 5 years. Not to say we were just complete strangers and you don't talk to the people that brought you out. So my aunt and uncle came with me, and they had to say that it had to be there, and their names had to be on the piece of paper that they will not be responsible for me anymore now that I've gotten my American citizenship paper. I'm on my own totally after that. Before that, she was my boss. Like if I wanted to go to the dance, and if she had to go to a wedding, say, well then she wouldn't want me coming off the bus and walking down the street by myself at like 12 o'clock at night, That kind of, but I didn't know that there was danger. Of course it wasn't danger then like it is now. But she was protecting me in her own way, but I did not. As a child you don't understand the reason for it. And as far as taking out my own then, the first one I took was your grandmother, my sister Peggy. Again, she was 16, and I got the papers, and then I got her a job through a friend at the dance, which we knew more and more. As the longer we were here, the more people you'd get to know. They all came to the one dance hall, and you'd always ask around. If you hear of any job, let me know. My sister is coming. We should have to get something. Everyone would be looking out for each other. I got jobs for many people too, because they had sisters or brothers coming out. That's kind of where it started. So then I brought Peggy out, and she came out. I went home in 1960 and brought her up to Dublin to pass a test, which she had to have, make sure she was physically fit to go out, like that she didn't have TB or disease of any kind. Like TB was very bad in Ireland back then, which meant she'd be sick and burdened on America if she came here. They wouldn't let her come until you had a clear bill of health in Dublin and you get a passport stamped and sealed. So then I went home in 1960. I came out on October the 9th, 1956, went home in June of 1960, and went up to Dublin with Peggy, which is like 40 miles from where we live, into the city to get her passport and get her for 2 days to have a complete x-ray of her body from top to bottom, and then you'd have to stay overnight until the x-rays would be all okayed, and then you go back the next day and then you get your passport. And then I also had it scheduled then, the second day in Dublin, of what day I'd be coming back to America so she could come back with me. So that's what happened in September of 1960. I went home for 3 months that time. And then Peggy came back with me, and then she got a job for a Professor Owens at Harvard University, and she lived in as a waitress for that family. And she went from there. Then I introduced her to people, and we brought her to the same dances. I was going steady with my husband at the time, and then she got to know a few that we introduced her to, and she came with us probably for a month to the same place. Then she'd come home with us that night, and then she'd go, and she had her own room, and she had her own family room, her own bedroom, TV. She loved it because it was something she couldn't have at all on the farm. So then Charlie and I decided to get married in 1960. We get married in 62, which we did. We worked 2 jobs faithfully for the 2 years, and we went home in 1962. Peggy could not come because she didn't have enough for money saved. So my other brother Bernie, he was going to come to America, but he didn't at the time. So anyhow, when we went home in 1962, and we got married on the farm at home, got married in the same church. No invitations for weddings. My mother wrote out her note, go to this one, go to that one, invite them to the wedding. I didn't know who half of them were because I was gone at 16. And anyhow, we got married in that church, and then back to our house, and we eat in one room, and we danced in the kitchen, huge big kitchen, and they played music and volunteer music. People that were at the wedding would all take turns, sing song, and then they drank out in where it would be a car. We call it the shed, but that's where you'd park the cars now. It was turf to heat the fire in my time. So they cleaned that out, and they put planks all around, and the men drank out in the bar, and then the women would set up 6 or 8 people at a time in the kitchen. Dance in the kitchen, in the dining room, and when that crowd would get up, they'd go out, and then another 6 would come in, and that was going on all day long, with all the people taking turns to eat. And then we stayed home for 3 weeks that time. Then we came back. My husband's people came down to Galway for the wedding. Charlie's mother and father, they were old at the time, and his sister and the brother was best man for him, and that was it. And Eamon, my brother Eamon, didn't like it in America. He came back with us then. That was in 1962. Then I had Margaret, Timmy, and Edward, children, and my brother Tommy I claimed out. I had Peggy first, then I claimed Eamon, then I claimed Tommy, then I claimed Lily, one after the other. So 7 of us were here, all claimed by, well, there's only one that was not claimed by me, which was Brendan. He was 6 months old when I left. Your grandmother, Peggy, and your grandfather, Meyer, put up the papers for Brendan. He was the youngest and the last of them to come out. I was fully responsible for each one of them for 5 years until they became American citizens. The same thing all over again, like my aunt did for me.
What's your most vivid memory from meeting?
What do you mean, vivid?
Like, what do you remember most?
I remember all of it. I will never forget it. My first time. Are you kidding me? I will never forget. On all the trips I have made, they were all wonderful. They were all sad leaving, because you didn't know when you were going back. But the first trip is a lifetime memory. because you're lost. And you are sad, I guess would be the word. And it's a new world.